You've probably heard a ton of prophecies, but have you ever stopped to think about how they're actually built? Well, today we're not going to look at a dozen different predictions. Instead, we're putting just one, a really cryptic 500-year-old omen from Nostradamus right under the microscope. We're going to see how it's structured and what it might have been trying to tell us. The entire mystery really kicks off with this one line, pulled straight from the text itself. It's so strange, right? Both sweet and horrifying. It just immediately makes you lean in and ask, what on earth is he talking about? And that right there is the central puzzle we're going to try and solve together. The whole thing hinges on this image of some bizarre creature washing up on a beach. But this isn't just some weird fishing story. It's a warning. And our job is to figure out what that warning actually is. Okay, so with any mystery, you've got to go back to the original evidence, right? So before we get into any interpretations or theories, let's just look at the exact words Nostradamus wrote down way back in the 16th century. This is our foundation for everything else. Seeing the original French right next to the modern English is so key here. You can immediately pick out the main pieces of the puzzle. You've got poisson terrestre and aquatique, a fish of both land and water. Super strange. And then you get that final chilling line, par mers aux murs bien tost les ennemis, enemies at the walls by sea. This is our raw data. These are the clues we have to work with. Now, here's the thing with prophecies like this one. They're almost never literal. They're written in code, using symbols to talk about bigger ideas. It was partly a way for the seer to protect themselves from, being called a heretic, and also this idea that the future should only be glimpsed, not read like a newspaper. So our next step is to put on our decoder hats and break down the key symbols in this verse. First up, the fish. The most important detail here is its impossible nature. It's both terrestrial and aquatic. This isn't a real animal. It's a symbol for something that just shouldn't exist. For an audience back then who were really steeped in symbolism, an unnatural event like this was a giant red flag. It was a clear sign that the world was seriously out of balance. So what brings this strange omen into the open? A powerful wave. And yeah, you guessed it, this is symbolic too. The wave isn't just water. It represents some kind of sudden, massive event. It's the catalyst that forces this weird sign out into the open and really kicks the prophecy into high gear. And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the enemies at the walls. This is actually the most direct part of the whole prophecy. It's the punchline, the consequence. The omen appears, and Nostradamus is basically saying, get ready, because a direct and very real threat, an invasion, is coming, and it's coming soon, from the sea. Okay, so we've broken it all down. We've got our omen, we've got our catalyst, and we have the final consequence. So now, let's put these decoded pieces back together and see the full warning that Nostradamus was trying to get across. You can really see the narrative flow here, can't you? It's a clear three-act structure. First, the omen. Something totally unnatural appears. Second, the catalyst. A big event forces it into view. And third, the consequence. A swift invasion from the sea. It's just a clear chain reaction. So when you put it all together, this is what you get. The entire complex, poetic verse really just boils down to a single, coherent warning. He's saying, keep your eyes peeled for some highly unusual, unnatural event, because that's going to be the signal that a sudden attack from the sea is coming. And all this leaves us with a much bigger question. When you look at an old text like this, how do you really separate a genuine warning from just a good, spooky story? At what point does a cryptic verse become an actual prophecy? And how can we ever know for sure if we're uncovering a hidden truth or if we're just finding the meaning that we want to see? It's definitely something to think about.